Okay, Ronald, hi, it's great for you to invite us here to the Serpent Factory. I've had a lot of emails from people around the world saying, yeah, you're going to the factory? Give us a look. So here we are. I wonder if you can start us with a bit of the history of what Serpent's about, your staffing levels, etc.
Okay, well, I can tell you that Serpent was founded in 1979 by Peter Burvoets and Ron Ton. Before, the cars were made by a company called FWF Engineering, but when Peter Burvoets and Ron Ton actually started, they called it Berton, and they are the makers of the Serpent cars. About 10-15 years later, the actual name was changed from Berton, which is an abbreviation of Barefoots, and Ron Ton, which are the last names of both people. And they were both heavily involved in RC car racing. Peter Burvoets more on the management, the technical level, and Ron Ton was only on a technical level, doing all the R&D in Serpent Company. At the moment, well, Serpent exists for around 25 years. We had that celebration last year. Actually, this was also the year that Michael Salven and myself took over the company from Peter Burvoets, who retired from the Serpent Company to start a new venture. And Michael is responsible for all the technical things inside the Serpent company, and I'm in charge of all the commercial and the general management tasks in the company. So we have a good spread there, and we are trying to get another person inside, which is Richard Kerr, who's currently doing the commercial side of the company, to become a partner in Serpent as well.
Well, everybody knows Richard because he's Mr. Personality half the time at the track, isn't he?
Yes, exactly. He's a very tall one and a bold person, so he's well known now. He goes to many of the Serpent Nitro Tours, the Serpent Series, and many of the international races that the Serpent team visits around the world.
How big is your staffing levels here?
Well, the staffing levels are now up to 22, 23 people in total. Part of the production is done in-house, and part of it is being outsourced to different companies, both in the Netherlands, in Europe, and even outside of Europe. The majority of the packing is done inside Serpent. All the nylon parts are done with our own injection molding machines, and we do assemble a number of pieces, but mainly packing and injection molding are the production things we are doing inside. But the products are born here. Both Michael and René join in the R&D team to create the new Serpent cars, to make modifications to current cars. So they come up with the ideas, and then we have a tooling department to make part of the tools we need for the injection molding, but all the prototypes and all the testing and the basic engineering and the whole design is being done in-house. The same is the case for all the marketing things. Everything on marketing level is done in-house. So from making the instruction manuals up to making the website, doing advertising, making the brochures, doing photography for the RC press. Everything is done in-house for the marketing side of things.
And René seems to be the person who has the finger on the 720, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. We have divided the attention from Michael and René to have them focus on one project at the time. And Michael is always more biased towards focus on the 1/8 scale side of things, and René is more into the 10 scale side. So they can both focus and on one side of the business of the cars that we are developing. So also by getting the information from the drivers at the different races, from our team obviously, trying to get all the information from the races to further develop the car. And if you can focus on one car at a time, this is much better than spreading your focus on two different projects.
I see. So race and development at the track, that's still handled by René with the 10 scale most of the time, and,
yes.
and Michael on the 8 scale?
Yes.
So
yeah, they do work together on both things, because it's always nice to have another opinion on the things that you are developing. But we are using obviously Michael then for a second opinion on René's activities, and they do that back and forth. But we also have a number of drivers close to the factory who are very helpful with testing things. We have Jillis Crosscram now in the 10 scale team to do work on that side, but still, and also before, Julius Kolf is a very strong person doing a lot of testing and giving us feedback. And also person Mark Green from England. He's a good source for information, as he has a lot of technical knowledge and is very helpful in further developing our products, both on the 8 and 10 scale side.
You seem to be developing some good drivers now. They seem to be getting a fairly good team together, so things are going to be starting looking up in a big way soon, I can feel.
Yes, obviously we try to support the team in the best possible way, but also try to develop the team drivers. So we have also selected a number of drivers in the world, 4 of them in Europe, 1 in Asia and 1 in America. We call it the Serpent Development Team, and these drivers are selected by Rene and Michael, and we see those drivers as very talented drivers who can also give good technical feedback about the handling of the car, and we try to get them to the big international races so we can help them to get a better personal result and to develop their racing, obviously.
That's your upper echelon drivers, but I know that you don't just think of them, you're always thinking about the whole club atmosphere. I've been told while I'm here in Holland that you people tend to do tutorials, for lack of a better word, at big race meetings to give people a starting point to set up their car. Tell us a bit about that.
Yes, exactly. Especially at the big races like this, all the drivers that are here do not have a lot of time to develop the setup. Like the European Championship was only a week, where the Monday was washed away because of the rain. So we always organize at these big races what we call tech talks. And both Michael and Rene will first tell a little bit about the feeling they have about the track and the setup they are developing themselves. And then they are open for questions from the gathered Serpent drivers that want specific information which is more focused towards their driving style and level of racing.
So that's your 8 scales and 10 scales, but I've seen something very, very interesting as I've walked around here, and it's red. The wheels hang out, and it's what most racers love, a Formula 1 car. Tell us about the development of this vehicle.
We've started the ideas for a Formula 1 car after we sort of discontinued the VTEC 1/8 scale car, which had already pushrod suspension in the front and in the rear. And there's no real project in as a Formula 1 car in model cars, although there are some other companies also developing things in that region. But we want to make it a very special project. The car has been prototyped, is now ready for production, and it's a very realistic looking, very sleek Formula 1 car, very low. Obviously we cannot call it a Formula 1 car for all sorts of reasons, so we are calling it the F180 project to get around that. But the car is now in production for the molds, and we hope to see many of them later in the year on the tracks, obviously.
Good morning, Rene. How are you after the day's racing yesterday?
Could be better, but still okay.
Tell us about some of your involvement in the 720.
My involvement, I'm the designer, or main designer actually, of the 720.
Look at me in the face, go on.
Okay.
Yeah, don't look at the camera, just look at me.
I'm the main designer of the 720.
Mm-hmm. And what sort of differences have you put into the car in this development from the 710?
Oh, difference is a lot. Actually, we learned a lot from the car, and so all we learned we put in. So to go into details, it's really a lot. It's too much.
You spend most of your time here in front of this computer with your design?
I think 90% of my time I spent here, yeah.
And then the rest of the time doing the actual development at the track?
Not only on the track, also to make the parts for the track.
Oh, for the development
Yeah,
team.
exactly.
Right. And how are you involved in the last couple of days at the event? Who are you looking after mostly?
Oh, nobody especially or special. It's just the beginning of the week. I just was looking on the track and who's driving, and was putting tips or giving tips to someone. And yeah, that's the main thing I did.
So you float around and just give
Yeah,
out some
exactly.
knowledge for the lower drivers?
Exactly. Not only lower drivers, also our top drivers.
Absolutely.
The car is actually new, so everything you know, it's better to share.
Absolutely. Get it more competitive and get everybody much happier on the day.
Exactly.
It was certainly a dramatic weekend, wasn't it? And we all thought you just had it in the bag there for a while, but in the last 5 minutes, the whole world changed, didn't it?
Not only the last 5 minutes, actually, when it came to the morning and it was starting to rain, it already changed. So it makes a little bit of lottery of it, but also the conditions were for everyone the same. We were just not good enough.
But there's another race in Australia in a few weeks of a bit more importance, isn't there?
Yeah, it's a bit more important. And we have the bad luck now, so we're prepared for that.
Well, we'll keep the fingers crossed and we'll see if 720 can pull its little finger out, along with the drivers,
Yeah,
and
we'll
pull
see.
her up the podium to somewhere that gets a big trophy.
Yeah,
We
I'm
look
sure
forward
we
to
can.
look forward to seeing you there in Australia.
Okay, see you. Thank you.
Okay, Michael, tell us about this Formula One you've got in front of you.
Yeah, this is already the third prototype of an 8-scale Formula 1 car, which we did. The first prototype was to see how things would look like. The second actually ran, but it was based on one 8-scale competition car, which means only rear brakes. And we wanted to have a quite scale Formula 1 car with all the suspension and stuff. And also two-wheel drive, because that is what a Formula 1 car is
Certainly
all about.
is. Certainly is.
But we figured that with only rear brakes, we had a hard time stopping the car on the rubber tires, and we also wanted to keep rubber tires to have it good looking and scale looking and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we made a third prototype with front brakes, and that's what we have here.
How are the brakes working here?
Well, we made inboard front brakes. We have two brake discs which are located here. You can see the brake pads, and you can see,
Yes.
if I turn it around, you can also see the brake pads, the brake disc here,
Absolutely.
and the brakes are connected to the front wheels through a drive shaft actually, which means we have front brakes but two-wheel drive.
How long before this will be in the shelves for us?
We are planning to sell the car at the end of this year.
I think I should put my name down now so I can get an early one. The tyre.
Well, if you put your name down now, you're not one of the first ones anyway.
I can imagine that. Tell us about the tyres, because they're very different to what we use in racing these days.
Well, actually, the system and the construction is like a 10-scale rubber tire, which not everybody, but a lot of people know. It means a foam insert on the rim and the rubber tire around it. It's certainly not what we use in 8-scale, which are foam tires. But the thing about foam tires is that they wear, and in the beginning it looks nice, and then at the end they are so small, and the whole car looks really ugly. So this is rubber tire technology, which is not new, but it's new in 8-scale.
They very much look real, so this is going to be one of the most realistic RC cars probably on the market today, especially the way the shocks are laid out in the back and the front. Very Formula One-ish. I can see this probably will stand up to a lot more punishment than some of the open wheel vehicles we've seen over the years.
Yeah, certainly, but you know, we want to have a good looking scale car which also has a good performance. And the inboard shocks, as you said, is really like Formula 1 cars are, and with the body shell on it, it looks really realistic.
The sort of thing a modeler who happens to RC race would want.
Yeah, I mean, what I think is that a lot of people just want the car, and then eventually they'll use it, and then eventually they will race it with it for sure. They will start their own race series. And then we will see how it develops. I mean, we plan it as a car to have fun. if it turns out to be a racing car, a competition, whatever.
Any thoughts
fine.
of putting a specific competition here in Holland together for the car to start it off?
No, we want to watch the market and how it develops itself. We don't want to place it as a real race car, or well, as a race car, but not as a competition car.
Not in the same sort of competitive class as
no.
the 8
But,
scales and the 720s.
I'm 100% sure that there will be races with this car, because we already know from our club here that they are planning to make a race series with this car.
Well, yesterday we had the finals of the Euro Championships, and we had a lot of rain.
Yeah.
I got some spectacular footage, but I'd love to see a Formula One going down there straight with that much water on the track.
It's probably really impressive with all the spray going up from the open wheels here.
It'd be fantastic, just like we used to see Senna and the boys do.
Yeah, I
These
think.
sensational visuals.
Yeah.
All right, Michael, thanks for your time. We'll let you get back to the computer and do some more work to get your next cars up and running. You'll be down in my hometown, Australia, in a few weeks, in beautiful Brisbane. We'll try to make better weather than you made for me, buddy.
Yeah. Try to make it sure. Thank you.
Okay, Michael, we've had to talk about the Formula One. I just want to have a little bit of a chat about the changing conditions at the track yesterday during the European 200ml finals. As I saw it when I arrived early in the week, it was a little bit wet, and you guys went out on as I remember, a slippery, slightly wet track with no rain on the first heat. How did you run the car then, or the first qualifier?
Well, actually, first qualifier, it stopped raining during the first one, which means like heat 7 or 8, I don't remember. When I was out, the track was wet, but no rain, and yeah, it basically was very slippery. I just put some rubber tires on and tried to make no mistakes and finish the heat, and it was. I didn't change anything on the car setup wise or engine wise, because there wasn't enough water to get into the engine, and I didn't want to change a lot of the setup because it seems to dry out anyway.
So the second and third qualifiers stayed
Yes.
hot. The temperature came up as the
Yeah.
day went on, and everyone seemed to get a little bit quicker.
Yes.
By the time we went home after the third race, I think it was Mark Green who was on top at that stage, wasn't it?
Yeah, Mark was top TQ. I was on 21st. I had a decent second one, or third one actually, the second one in the dry. But I had a little problem overtaking Tironi. He let Mark pass by, but he closed the door on me, which I didn't expect. So I went into the grass, lost some time, and I finished 21st.
That was just after, I think, Gillis had broken the lap record. Is that correct?
He broke the lap and the track record on Thursday, which was like a timed practice heat, the very last one, when the track was really good.
Well, that was a surprise. A lot of the gas car racers see an electric expert come in for one of his first major
I
meetings.
think probably most of them. It didn't surprise me because he already raced for us for the GP, and he's a very fast, talented guy.
And he had a bit of bad luck in that and didn't actually finish the full time, did he?
Yeah, he. I mean, the fast one on the qualifiers was on Saturday morning, the very last one. Then the track was grippy, the air was a little cool,
And you pulled your finger out.
and I did, yes. And Gilles had some bad luck. I don't actually remember what really happened. I think he had some engine problems in that very heat. So I TQ'd, which I was very happy with, of course.
Of course.
Also new lap and track record, and yeah, really good, really good.
It was excellent. So you then went from there and spent most of the time preparing the car on Sunday, because it was basically raining, tornadoes, lightning at one stage 300 metres from the track.
Yeah.
You would have been spending the day setting the car up for a supposed wet race, very wet race.
Yeah, actually, setup-wise, I wouldn't change a lot. Maybe take out the anti-roll bars or stuff, but I had to prepare the car for what. I mean, it wasn't even rain. It was like Jesus.
Well, 2 hours before.
Yeah, it was
I've never
pouring.
seen so much water in one spot and had to be a track underneath it and cars on it, which was
I mean,
strange.
during the day there was a big discussion to cancel the race because there was a lightning struck very nearby, but then all the drivers wanted to continue. except me. No. I said I don't want to win the race on results of the heats. It's not a final. So.
And then half an hour before the final, the wind came in, started
Yeah.
cleaning everything up. The track dried really quickly, and you were freaking out because your car was in wet mode.
I was in wet mode too. I had to I prepared a set of tires just in case it dried out for a 45-minute final, which means one tire change. And then I realized they had to change the time. They went to 30 minutes, which makes a tire change obsolete.
It's pointless.
Yeah, and I had to do another set of tires. I had to change the engine right before the start. And everything together, it became very hectic. Although I had whole Sunday to prepare my car, but at the end it was really stressful.
And you would have changed motors, going from a rain motor with less horsepower.
I had a rain engine, which means a rain air filter, a rain cylinder head, and another front bearing, because a lot of the water comes inside the engine through the front bearing.
Right.
But then this engine has a little bit less horsepower, and then when it dried out, I wanted to have my best engine in the car, and I asked my mechanic to put it in, and maybe it was not enough time to do it properly, and during the final I broke 2 of the first gears.
Yeah, you were very competitive up to that stage. There was a big race up the front. It was all very exciting. We thought we knew what was going to happen, and then just moments from the end, the world caved in.
Yeah, it was a crazy final. Mark and me, we could pull away, and I had a very fast car. Not very easy, but very fast. And then I went over a curb, which is normally not a big problem, but the curbs were not dry at that stage. So when I came down on the track, I just spun out and went into a big puddle.
Yeah.
Lost, I don't know, half a lap. Recovered, made the same mistake again. And then I was actually 1 lap down, and then like 10 minutes to go, I recovered to half a lap down on Rick Freeling, and he ran out of tires. He had to change tires.
Yeah, you were all getting a little bit desperate in those last 5 or 6 laps. Everyone
Yeah,
was
I mean,
bottoming out.
I wanted to close the gap, and I could see I was faster, but then eventually my first gear broke, and then they put a new one on, and it broke 2 laps after that. So I stopped and watched the rest of the final.
Life and motor racing in particular is full of ifs and buts, eh?
Yeah, right. But anyway, we didn't get 100% of our possibilities, and in that way, the other guy is really the winner. He made no mistake. He just drove the car without any problems, and
Not necessarily the fastest, but drove perfectly in the conditions.
I mean, I don't know if he could have made the final in the dry conditions. You never know. Maybe he was fast enough, but he's the winner. He drove the most laps in 30 minutes. That's it.
We all enjoyed it. We'll put the DVD together with all this dry and rain racing.
Okay.
And we'll make it very
A
entertaining.
lot of drama.
Ciao.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ronald, this is a wall with a lot of history on it. Give us a bit of a rundown of what we've got here.
Yeah, this is certainly the hall of history and prototypes as well. You can see here we start off with the very early cars. The first one is not even made by Serpent, but just to show it as an example. But here we start off with a Serpent history 8-scale cars at first only, with a pan chassis, no suspension, direct drive system. And then we're moving down the hallway and we get some suspension in the car. We move from chain drive to bell drive. Of course, you have the development going from the 2-wheel drive system to the 4-wheel drive system. More proper brake systems are being installed in the cars. Obviously, shock absorbers take their position in the car. And there's a number of handmade prototypes here on the top far side. That was the handmade prototype of the Sprint, the 6000 series car, one of the most famous cars in Serpent history. And you see the actual production model a little bit lower in the Hall of Fame. Then we started working with 110 scale cars as well. So you have the first sample here of an almost ready to run car that we made at that time. That's already about 10 years ago. But that developed very quickly into true racing cars, and this started the 235mm class, which was basically invented by Serpent and promoted, and then taken over also by some of our other competitors in the market. We are now down to another version of the Sprint. There have been various versions. Then Serpent did an attempt at the electric cars with the 10 Force. This was the first suspension electric car in the market at the time. At that time, the rules didn't allow for suspension cars yet, and it was too difficult for us to get the class going just on our own. Then another handmade prototype, as you can see, from the Serpent XL, the 9000 series car, and the later production version of this very successful car. Michael won his Grand Prix in Italy with this car on its very first outing, so that was quite impressive.
Spectacular. That's what every manufacturer wants, isn't
Yes,
it?
exactly. That's the dream. Then we have some prototype parts here with an hydraulic brake system made by some Swiss Serpent fan. Then we move over to the Serpent VTEC car, the monocoque car with pushrod suspension both on the front and the rear. That developed into the Vector NT later on, and a mix of that in the next version of the VTEC car with single chassis plate instead of the two separate ones. And as you and we move up here to a number of different 10 scale cars from Serpent. The Impulse, quite famous, then moved into the Impulse Carbon. And then we've developed it in the Serpent 710 car, which is not on this board yet. We still have to mount it. So we stop with the Serpent 705 here. But here you can also see they're not really in chronological order, but this is the Serpent off-road 1/8 scale four-wheel drive off-road cars that Serpent made in the past. But now we're talking more than 15 to 20 years ago. And Serpent decided at the time to drop out of that category because of the immense competition in that field, and also we had to focus on the on-road car, which was more our thing. But who knows, we're going to do maybe another attempt at it, who knows. Okay, well, here we arrived at the packing department of Serpent. Here is where all the spare parts and the car kits are being packed. We have a number of young people working here, and a number of ladies who work on a temporary basis. Of course, quality control is very important in this department. So everything is done with packing lists, and every part is being weighed to know exactly that all the packages are complete. And we have built up quite a good image with that in the market up to now. So inside Serpent we work with 21 employees in total, and we are now in part of the production department where some of the parts are being selected and taken from the frames of the injection molding machine. Richard here is working on a number of solid rear axles. He has to punch the inner part which comes from the injection molding machine. And this is still being done manually, as the quantity is not high enough to change it to automatic, more automated version of production. We have now arrived at the injection molding part of the Serpent factory. We have 3 injection molding machines, 3 very similar machines. Due to holidays, they are not operating at this moment. All the plastic, the nylon parts of the Serpent cards are being made in-house. So we have all the molds for all the different Serpent parts in stock, and they're all made on these 3 machines. This keeps us, this makes us into a very flexible company, as we have this as an in-house production, so we can change products if needed very quickly and easily, and make production very quickly and supply to the market in the fastest possible way.
In the background I see a lot of trophies around the roofs here.
Yes, as informed to you before, we have company has been in existence now for over 25 years, and we have had our numbers of successes in the past, and we still do. And we didn't have any space in the lobby anymore to put all the trophies, so we decided to put them up in production to give them a good place anyway.
That's a good problem to have.
Yes, that is certainly a good problem to have. I hope that will continue to be a problem in the future as well. Well, we are now in the tool making department of Serpent, where Jan Jung is our main tool maker. He has a variety of machines available to accomplish his task. There's some machining tools. We have a spark erosion machine, and about 30% of the molds that Serpent needs are made in-house, and of course a lot of fast changes, modifications that we want to make after some test results have become available. We also do here. So we have arrived now at the central warehouse of Serpent. This is the area where the incoming goods arrive. There's a person who's taking care of the quality control of the incoming goods. They are being checked based on the drawings and the information that he gets from R&D department, and they're then being put on the right address in the warehouse. We buy items from the Netherlands, but also throughout Europe, and even outside Europe. We obtain some of the products that you see in the Serpent cars today. We are now in the sales part of the Serpent warehouse, where all the ready-to-sell items are being stocked. So they are put here in numerical order. All the spare parts for all the export things are always packed by 5 to make export a little bit easier. We keep a very good stock of all the spare parts needed for the current cars, but also we are able to service at least the older cars also for another 5 years after they are being discontinued as car kits. That's a very good service to the customers who of course want to keep running their existing cars as well. This is the part of the factory where all the expedition takes place. Serpent supplies over 35 different countries around the world, including of course Europe, America and Asia. We have a very high speed in not only in the cars but also in sending out orders. So normally our export orders will leave the company within 2 or 3 days after we get them, and that's a very good service to our distributors. There's, due to holiday reasons, there's not a lot of staff here working at the moment, so I can't show you the actual people working here as they have a day off today. We're now in the central offices of the Serpent building. We basically sit all together in one big office. So on this side, this is my working space, and we have accounting and bookkeeping. The exports, everything related to orders. Then we do a lot of sales in the Benelux countries, so there's 2 people taking care of all the sales for Benelux, where we also do some distribution of other famous brands. Then we move over in this direction, and we arrive here at the marketing department of Serpent. All the race series, the Serpent Nitro Tourers, Serpent Series, Serpent Nations Cup, all these kinds of events, and the support we are giving to big events like the European and World Championships are being prepared here by Oisin and Owen O'Brien. Owen is responsible for all the marketing affairs we do in-house, taking care of the press releases, the instruction manuals for the cars. All kinds of brochures we are making, and of course the famous Serpent website as well. We have a small office here where we can use the studio to make some pictures and do some videoing when needed. So this is the engineering offices where both Michael and Renee are working behind the 3D workstations. They normally work with the Pro Engineer software, which is a high-end kind of 3D development software which we've been using since 10 or 12 years, or maybe a little bit longer. And after the ideas come, of course the drawings need to be made for all the products, and also the molds and the tooling have to be prepared for our suppliers and for the internal tool making division as well. So we've landed now outside the Serpent factory after showing you around in the Serpent building, showing you all the different departments that we have in our factory. We're only 5 minutes away from our test track, which is located at the MACH, where the European Championships have just taken place. Maybe we will ever have a chance to meet you there, and otherwise on one of the other racetracks around the world. See you there.